to divide like how we use blockchain into two different groups. First one being things that we can do right now, things that are possible right now that we can do. And then the other one is like future thinking, maybe slightly utopian. Maybe we can get there if we have some like a lot more political power.
Mm.
So I think sometimes what's missed in the conversation is like time and the fact that we're starting from quite a low base to be honest for left wing power around the world. So there are like steps that needed to be taken, and you know it's all like this is a dialectical developments that can be expected.
Mm.
But for things that we can do right now, I think you can look at the cases of WikiLeaks and Sci-Hub. So in the case of WikiLeaks, they famously released a lot of information about the Iraq War the government didn't really like, and then they were denied access to any of their financial accounts, in any of their money held in banks. They were not allowed to get to it. They weren't allowed to use PayPal. Basically, they were not allowed service. The one thing, though, they had the foresight to do was to accept Bitcoin before that happened. And so they had a ton of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price went up, and they were able to survive, like still today even. And I think part of the reason why Julian Assange isn't like dead or like doesn't have like any defense is probably because they accepted Bitcoin at that early stage.
Wow.
This is the same for a project called Sci-Hub. So if you don't know what it is, it's like basically a database of every single scientific article you can possibly get. You just copy and paste the link of the article that has the paywall, and then it gives you the full PDF in front of you. But that project was started by this woman based in Georgia, I believe, or in Russia, and she knows that what she's doing is pretty illegal, so she's not able to like start bank accounts for this project for people to donate to, and she only accepts Bitcoin. That's the only project. That's the only like type of thing she can get paid in, and actually, you know, pay for probably the costs it takes for running this thing. And fun fact, she's a huge communist. Like she does talks. She literally has a talk on like why communism is science. Like she's quite a hardcore communist.
Mm.
So it's pretty interesting to see like this communist who is actually challenging capitalist power around at least like the scientific journal industry, is using Bitcoin for this particular use case because it makes sense to use it. Yeah, so that's one thing that we can do right now is think about if we're going to challenge real capitalist power, one of the ways that capitalism is probably going to fight back against us is by preventing us from accessing our bank accounts. So if Joe Biden one day says that DSA is actually Antifa and Antifa is illegal, they're not allowed to access their bank accounts anymore, then like the DSA could lose like all of their money and they can't access it. And, you know, like it's a possibility. I don't know if they're.
That's how you know that's how you know you're a real radical organization is when they
Exactly.
shut off your access to the real economy.
Exactly. Once you reach the point where you're actually a radical organization, we live in a society, so we need money, right? So because of that reality, that's one thing that we can consider in how we use cryptocurrency. And then there are, of course, like more advanced ways of using cryptocurrency. Like you can create a wallet, so like a pool of funds, which is held by many different parties. So you can have like an Ethereum wallet that has a bunch of Ether that gets donated into it, and Ether can only come out through some sort of democratic process. So we can all democratically decide, you know, we want to buy a bunch of milkshakes to throw at what's that guy that got the milkshakes thrown at him?
Oh God, I feel like there's many guys who got milkshakes thrown at them.
Yeah, whenever Antifa was on the milkshake throwing binge.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Yeah, so like you can think of it as like a decentralized protocol for governance around funds. That's another thing that you can do right now. It's a little bit clunky, and there are some like bugs, and there's like some experimentation that needs to be done. But it's something that you can like begin experimenting on now. And I have a project where we're trying to experiment with that. And then there's the use cases for more like utopian thinking. So like if for an example, I once wrote an article around how we could think about allocating housing within a socialist society. So my proposal, and keep in mind, it's something that requires a whole lot of more thinking than just what I'm saying, of course. But it was just meant to be as like an experiment in imagination, and of course, it's maybe a little bit utopian, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But basically, to use a blockchain to facilitate the allocation of housing. So you would get everyone in our little society. I use the Mushroom Kingdom as an example. Everyone in Mushroom Kingdom gets a housing right token. So the token that's on top of the blockchain, it represents your right to a house, which you could spend on a house that you live in. And so your particular attributes could also be stored with your identity on the blockchain. So say on one side we have Mario, and he has a son, baby Mario. And so Mario is able to use his housing right token to purchase a house that has 700 square feet or whatever. Luigi is a single dude, and so his housing right token is good for like 500 square feet or something. Mm-hmm. So like you can use it as a mechanism for economic planning in a democratic fashion. I think in my experiment, I think it's possible to do it. It requires.
I just want to say that again, that crypto, Bitcoin, these technologies could be used to accomplish economic planning in a democratic fashion. I think that is the heart of what we're trying to accomplish, if there's anything to accomplish in crypto. I mean, it reminds me even of like an underground sort of economic railroad. You know what I mean? Like a place where the left should be thinking hard about how to build into this. At the same time, I understand the sort of reluctance to engage with it because it feels like just more capitalism to a lot of people.